Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of my Unpopular Opinions Music Edition. This is going to be part 5, I believe. And so if you want to get right to the opinions, I will have a timestamp on the screen right here to where we can go to. And now into a couple quick disclaimers. Number one, obviously just my opinions here. Sorry for any background noise or dust particles that may occur throughout the video. I'm going to be reading on my phone as I always do. If I have any additional notes to add, check down below. I might have been comments. And let's get into it. So the first thing that I've written down is I need people to stop calling these new singers the next Mariah Carey. Because number one, I feel like it's disrespectful to Mariah, and I will kind of state why later. And also I feel like it does a disservice to the artist that is being compared to her. And the reason I think that is because if you compare like 99% of singers to Mariah, they do not even come close. They do not even have a quarter of the talent that this woman has. And it's just so insane to me that people keep doing this over and over and over again. I see the comparisons and I'm just like, really? Like, it's not making a whole lot of sense to me. And I feel like sometimes people just forget how much Mariah has done. Every time I see people saying, oh, this is the next Mariah, they're always talking about the vocals. And in my opinion, in the last like 20-30 years, nobody who has debuted is touching her vocally. One of the best singers of all time. I really think she's like a 1 in a billion talent. That's how talented that she is, right? Just in regards to the singing. But then it's like, I think some people don't know that she writes her songs, or they just forget to add that into the equation. But the songwriting on here is also important as well, because she has hit after hit after hit. One of the best songwriters of all time. I love her vocabulary. And I just think that she's really clever, and I just really love what she does in regards to the songwriting as well. And then you also have her producing work as well, and she's a great producer in regards to that. Like I said, a lot of people are just talking about the vocals, and none of these new singers are singing her vocally, in my personal opinion, and then they forget to add in everything else. So it's just not going to come together. Like I said, if you compare pretty much anybody to Mariah Carey, they are going to fall flat because she's one of the best to ever do it. And so I feel like it is kind of disrespectful in that regard. On the whole, I feel like Mariah has given us so much throughout her entire career, and I feel like a lot of people just forget how much that she has done. So just give Mariah Carey her respect in terms of that. And also another thing that I saw my mutual saying online that I really agree with is I genuinely don't understand why people are acting like Mariah is replaceable. And people do not do this to her contemporaries, as far as I know. Like, some people just don't really appreciate her enough, and that's really a shame. And also it's an entire thing of, they've done this to a lot of other singers as well, saying, oh, this person is the next Beyonce or Michael Jackson, like whatever it is. And in general, I just find that really annoying. Like, stop calling people the next whatever. You can say, oh, I might see similarities in their careers or something, but pushing somebody as the next Mariah is going to hurt them more than help them, in my opinion, because people just cannot live up to that realistically. Mariah is one of the best to ever do it. And so it's just weird to me that some people act like she can be replaced. Like I said, the singing, it's not happening. And two, we have the songwriting and we also have the producing as well. So it's just not going to happen. I feel like people have to be realistic because, like I said, she's a 1 in a billion talent. So it's getting kind of weird to me. So yeah, in general, I feel like people should just stop calling the new singers the next blah blah blah, because it's just setting them up in so many different ways. Like, whenever Harry Styles was on Rolling Stone this past year and they called him the new king of pop, they got dragged, rightfully so, because that's not a title that was given to him. That's Michael Jackson's title. If you guys wanted to give Harry Styles a title, then why wouldn't you make up something new from him? Michael Jackson has had that title for a very, very long time, and that is his entire thing. So of course you guys are going to get dragged, and you guys are just setting him up. And also I feel like Harry's too early in his career to have a title. I feel like a lot of times whenever you used to get a title, you really had to establish yourself in the industry and show that you had the talent and the longevity and all that kind of stuff. And if you see my channel before, you guys know that I do like Harry Styles, but that was such a huge setup, and I feel like they kind of knew that. Like, sometimes they put stuff in the articles or on the cover, whatever, to kind of like provoke people. And so yeah, that was just an entire setup. So that's something that really gets on my nerves. And also whenever this happens, like, oh, this person is the next Mariah or next Beyonce or next whoever it is, and like they say that, why do they get surprised whenever the artist gets offended at that? Because I would get offended at that too, because it basically sounds like, oh, you're trying to, you know, say that I'm not relevant anymore, or say that anybody can touch my talent, whatever. Like, that's something that's annoying. I don't understand why people would want to hear that and be like, oh, it's a compliment or whatever. Like, of course you can have influence, but saying someone is the next blah blah blah, like, I understand why people feel a way about that. And kind of what I was talking about earlier, I really feel like people need to stop giving people other people's titles. Like I was saying, the King of Pop thing, that was something that was given to Michael Jackson and so on. Create a new title, do something different for them. Like, let's be for real for a moment.
Okay, so this is something that I wanted to throw in because I always say which Glee renditions I like more than the original. So for today, I feel like the Glee rendition of Hate on Me is superior to Jill Scott's version. And so I actually heard the Glee version first. I always loved it. And I feel like this past year I've been enjoying it more because I kind of listened to some of Glee renditions on and off, right? And so I really always liked the Glee version. And then I was like, you know what? Let me hear the original. And I just do not care for the original at all. I guess I just don't really like Jill Scott's voice. And hey, that's just my opinion. I'm sure some of you guys are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. But the Glee version just always eats. Like, Amber Riley went into the studio and she just ate. And yeah, the Glee rendition is just so superior in every single way.
The next thing that I wanted to say is that Mariah Carey deserves better fans. So I actually did talk about this in my last Unpopular unpopular opinions video, but I edited it down because I already had a few about Mariah. I felt like it was redundant, but I wanted to bring this back up again because it's like some Mariah fans, they do not treat her like she is a human. I'm so tired of people saying rude things about her appearance. The woman still looks fantastic, so I just do not understand why you're saying that, for one. And also, it's just distasteful and disrespectful, and you shouldn't be commenting on someone's appearance like that. Like, that's just really messed up, so it really irritates me. And then also people always hating on her voice and everything. Like I said, she's not gonna sound the same as she did whenever she first started out, but I think that she still sounds great, and everybody has bad days. So I just think that it's unrealistic to expect her to sound the exact same whenever she first came out. Nobody is going to, and so that's something that really irritates me in that regard. And I'm so tired of some quote-unquote lambs acting like they're a vocal coach. Like, what do you guys know about singing? Like, honestly, you watch a few little videos on YouTube and now all of a sudden you're a vocal coach. Like, be so freaking for real. And also trying to tell Mariah what she needs to do with her career and all that stuff. Like, it's just really irritating to me. So I feel like some lambs, quote-unquote, should admit that they just like Mariah's voice and they don't care about her as a person, because it must be so disheartening for her to log online and see her so-called fans talking trash on her, and she must feel a way about that. And I don't blame her, because she's supposed to find, you know, reprieve in her fans. I know that she enjoys talking to us. I appreciate the Twitter spaces and everything that she does, because she does not owe us anything. She's given us so much throughout the entire career, and every year she continues to bless us with everything that she does. So I always really appreciate everything. But there's some lambs that are going to complain no matter what she does, and it's just something that is so irritating to me. And at this point, if I see you slandering Mariah Carey, I'm just gonna hit block or mute you and just move on, because it's just something that is so irritating to me. Just be honest and say, oh, I only like her for her voice, I'm not a fan of her as a person, and just move on in terms of that. But I'm just so tired of people saying like, oh, I only care about her well-being and I only care about blah blah blah. Then why are you talking trash about her online? And why are you hating on every single thing that the woman does? Like, you act like she might not see that. It's just something I really do not understand on the whole. And whenever they get called out for it, they want to have every single excuse instead of just admitting what it is. And so that's something that irritates me as well. Another thing that irritates me is these quote-unquote lambs who hate 90% of Mariah's discography. Like, they stand Music Box, they will talk about that all day long. It's her best album, this blah blah blah, which in my opinion isn't true, because artistically she's just grown so much, and so that's my opinion in that. And then they just hate on all of her R&B stuff that she has done, or R&B stuff with hip-hop elements, or stuff that she does in other genres. And it's like, that's really weird to me, because I wouldn't consider myself a huge fan of somebody if I didn't like 90% of their discography. Like, at a certain point it is just weird, and so why would you hate on her for doing music that is more true to herself? And also, the music is excellent on top of that. Like, it's just really weird on the whole. And also, it's an entire thing of she's not going to make Music Box Part 2. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
So something that I wanted to add is that some lambs are racist, and it's something that's very weird to me, because how do you stand a black woman yet you are racist? And you can just tell by some of the things that they say and how they treat black lambs and stuff, and so that's definitely something that has to be brought to the forefront. And also, it's an entire thing of, if you are a lamb and you say that Mariah is not black, you are incredibly weird for that. From the beginning of her career, she has said that she is black and that she is proud of it, and she's shown that through her actions and the music that she makes and all that kind of stuff. And so to deny that part of her is just something that is really weird to me overall. And also, there's edits I've seen of people literally whitewashing Mariah, and that is something that is disgusting and distasteful, and like changing her face and stuff like that. That's weird no matter what celebrity that you do that to, and that's just something that has always bothered me on the whole. So that is something that has to be brought to the forefront. And a lot of times whenever people stand Music Box, I find that there is a correlation with them just not liking her R&B stuff. Like, they hate on Butterfly, they hate on Charm Bracelet, and that's something that's very weird to me overall. Like, they only go out for her pop stuff. So they love Music Box, they might like the debut album, they might like a couple of songs off of Daydream, but they hate the R&B stuff. So that's just something that's weird, because like I said, why would you stand someone if you hate the majority of her discography? Because at the end of the day, Mariah is more so of an R&B artist. So that's something that just doesn't really sit right with me. Just the way that some lambs just kind of like navigate everything and how they treat black lambs just really shows a lot about them. Also, something that I wanted to add is, I'm so tired of people posing as lambs on Twitter or whatever it is, and then I follow them because they think they're a lamb, and then the second that I do, they literally bash Mariah and everything that she does like 97% of the time, and then they praise her 3% of the time. And then whenever they get called out on it, they want to have such BS excuses, and that's something that's annoying to me on the whole. And also, I just can't stand people in general who, whenever it's convenient to like Mariah, they love her, and then whenever it's not, they hate on her. It's just like, be consistent. You either like her or you don't. Basically, I'm just so tired of fake lambs who literally criticize anything that she does. Like, no matter what she does, it's never enough for them. Like, it's just something that is so annoying, and that's why I just mute and block and just move on, because it's something that's irritating, and you can tell that there's some of them who only like her for her voice. They don't care for her as a person or her personality, and it's just something that's irritating. Like, the stuff that some of you guys say about her is just absolutely disgusting and egregious.
And yeah, some of you guys just actually have to treat her like she's a human being. Just because she's a famous singer doesn't mean that you get to talk about her any way that you want. Like, it's just something that must be really heartbreaking and dehumanizing, and sometimes you just have to learn where to draw the line. Some things are just not okay to say, and it's like, just treat her with basic human decency like you would with anybody else. Like, it's getting really weird, and it's something that is truly irritating me, because I'm always seeing people hate on her on Twitter or like whatever it is. And it's like I'm going in places where there's supposed to be a bunch of Mariah Carey fans, and why am I seeing you guys talk trash on her every freaking day? Like, it gets so old. It's one thing if like a few songs or like an album or something like that aren't your particular jam. You know, I have my songs and albums I don't really gravitate towards as much from her, of course, like everybody does. But there's a difference between saying, this isn't really for me, and just bashing on it, especially her R&B work, because I feel like that's very, very telling on the whole. And some of you guys only like a certain version of Mariah that's just never coming back. And so it's just very weird to me overall how some of you guys treat her, and let's just be respectful. The next thing that I wanted to say is people need to stop teasing their songs for so long before they release it, or tease such a huge chunk of it before it comes out. Like, at a certain point it's getting kind of ridiculous. Like, don't tease a song for me and then it doesn't come out 6 months later. And some people have stated it's like whenever you make songs sometimes and like you tease them and people love it, a lot of times they just rush to get the song out, and you can tell because the songwriting's not up to par, the vocal is mid, the production is horrible, and it's like, why wouldn't you just wait and release a good version of the song? Like, why would you tease the song if it's not ready, if you're not intending to do something with it? You know, it's just something that's really irritating to me because I'm hearing one thing, I'm expecting one thing. Like, do not rush to finish the song. Stop teasing it if you're not going to release it for 6 months. Like, be so for real. Like, it gets really annoying. And this was actually inspired by like some TikTok that I saw, and it kind of gets annoying to me. The next thing that I've written down is some artists need to listen to their fans more in terms of the music direction that they're going in. I really like whenever artists experiment and they try different genres and different things than they would normally do, because I hate when people just make the same song over and over and over again, or just adhere to the same style all the time. I really think that artistic growth is something that is super, super important. But sometimes you see artists and they collaborate with people that their fan base does not like at all, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. Or they make an entire style of music that just isn't really working for them, so why are we continuing with that? Or, you know, they have bad reception for an album and it's like they're not listening to that. Some people are just going to be haters, some people just aren't going to like an artist, absolutely. But sometimes it's like we have to listen to constructive criticism and be like, this isn't working. Because not everybody is a super versatile vocalist or songwriter or instrumentalist or like whatever it is, and it is what it is. Some people like to make the same song 100 times. It just really depends on the artist and everything. But I think some artists just don't realize, hey, maybe this isn't working for me. Maybe I need to try something else. And there's so many artists who try a bunch of different styles before they land on like exactly what they want to do. And then I guess I'll go back to this point because I was just talking about it, but artistic growth is so important. Why would I want to go listen to an entire artist's discography and feel like there was no progression in terms of the singing, the songwriting, the production, anything about it, and like they were just recording everything in the studio in 1 week? Like, that is something that is really boring to me. Why aren't we trying to grow as an artist? Why aren't we trying to grow just in terms of everything about it? Why wouldn't you want to enhance your craft? Why would you want to keep making the same song 800 times? Like, that is something that is ridiculously boring to me. And so I feel like that's really necessary for all artists. And I'm just not content with artists who are okay being mediocre and not pushing themselves artistically, because at a certain point it gets old. Like, how many times are you going to make the same song over and over and over again? You don't want to grow as an artist. And there's so many different ways to do that, from trying new songwriting partners, for example, or trying a new genre of music, or just like living experiences and putting that into your songs. Like, there's so many ways to go about that. And so anybody who doesn't care for artistic growth, like, that's just always going to bother me, because I feel like there always has to be a progression, and that's just something that I really value in artists on the whole. I like to listen to an album and be like, I feel like they improved as a singer. I feel like they improved as a writer. I feel like they improved as a producer or whatever it is. Another thing I wanted to say is I'm so tired of seeing artists say, oh, I was blackballed because their project flopped. And yes, I'm talking about DaBaby, and he can get this slander. Like, you are openly homophobic. And like I was saying, it wasn't only that which was bad enough. You kept flip-flopping which position you want to take on it. One moment he's sorry, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Another moment, oh, I don't care about the controversy and blah blah blah. Pick a freaking side to be on. Like, that was so irritating to me. Also, like a lot of people said, even if you are a trash person, if people like your music, there's some people who are just going to look away, they're just going to enjoy the music, and you will be able to overcome whatever controversy that you had. But like people saying with DaBaby, he's been making the same song for years. Like, I remember hearing him at first, like, what, 2019? Maybe he did Beauty before that. I don't know. It is what it is. I remember hearing that, and every song I swear I heard after that, it was the same flow on every freaking song. Like, you don't ever get tired of using the same flow, the same horrible SpongeBob reject instrumentals. Like, be so for real. Like, there's no artistic growth in there. Like, it's just the same thing over and over and over again. And at a certain point, everyone got tired of hearing that, and then you have the homophobic comments, and so it's just everything around there is going bad, and so that's why he has not been able to overcome the controversy, basically. And there's this tweet that I saw basically saying the exact same thing, and so I feel like that is something that is important noting in that regard. Sometimes you weren't blackballed. Sometimes your music just sucks, and people aren't buying it to show you that it sucks, and maybe you should be like, let me do better. Let me make a better album. Let me find a way to grow. But it's just something that really is irritating to me. Of course, some artists are blackballed, like the Chicks, for example, for the comments about George Bush, and they were right, by the way, and I appreciated that they stood on it. So they got blackballed for that. But you see how they were able to come back with their album Taking the Long Way. They won Album of the Year at the Grammys. Like, they actually came back from that. Is their career at the same place that it was? No, but I mean, winning album of the year, they had the acclaim, and they still have fans to this day. So it really depends on what artist that it is, because some artists, you know, they're really able to overcome and have even bigger sales or whatever. I'm just saying, as long as you make good music, that's what people really care about the most. And so the baby has been flopping so hard that not only did his concert tickets get so cheap, it's like what, $20 to $45, people start buying the tickets. He had to cancel a show or something like that because people weren't buying the tickets and he couldn't sell out. And then what does the baby do? He literally is going to Cheesecake Factory to give away the tickets and finding other ways to try to give away tickets, and nobody wants them. Imagine you're going out with your family, you're trying to have a nice appetizer at Cheesecake Factory or whatever it is, and then boom, he comes, oh, do you want my concert tickets, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to say no and get back to eating your meal, because be so freaking for real. How bad do you have to be as an artist for you to give away tickets to your show? And people are like, I think I'd rather stay at home. Like, I'm not feeling going. Like, that really says something about you as an artist more than anything. And so that's something that's irritating to me. And also another thing that's really irritating to me is the fact that he tried to bring up Megan Thee Stallion's name and say like, oh, I slept with her and blah, 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 to kind of generate people caring about this album, which also flopped, by the way. And it still didn't work because your music sucks. And so it's just really weird to me overall, the fact that people still support him. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, DaBaby really can't be mad at anybody but himself, because if he wouldn't have made those comments, then his career would be in a different place. I don't know what place that it would be in, but he wouldn't be flopping as hard as he is right now. People got tired of the controversies. They got tired of you making the same song 800 times, and this is what happens. And some people just want to come up with excuse after excuse after excuse instead of just making good music. And so that's something that really irritates me. And since I was just talking about Megan Thee Stallion, I wanted to say, leave Megan Thee Stallion alone. That woman has been through so much, and honestly, I do not know how she does it every day. Not only did she lose her mom, she lost her grandma as well. She got shot, and anybody who doesn't believe that she was shot, anybody who's trying to discredit her or talk down on her in that regard, you guys are weird. And this is something that I said before, and I will say it again. If you support Tory Lanez, unsubscribe from my channel. Everything that she has said has actually been consistent, you see? And she wouldn't have got this far, like people said, if she was making it up. Like, you have to realize that, right? And Tory keeps changing his story, talking about some, oh, she was stepping on glass. And then it was an entire thing of, oh, Kelsey shot her and blah, blah, blah. Like, that man is a horrible person. Didn't you guys see that thing about him biting out August Alsina's skin or something like that because August didn't dap him up or something and he got mad? I believe that's a story. Like, it's just weird. Like, some of you guys just hate black women and you will do anything that you can to talk negatively on them. And it's something that's especially disheartening coming from black women and just women in general, because really, all the evidence is pointing in Meg's favor. I'm so tired of people trying to get on records and diss her and blah, 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 and people collaborating with Tory Lanez. Like, Drake, you will be dealt with, because I don't know why he thought that he could hop in the studio and diss Megan on that song, and then everyone's saying like, oh, he's dissing Megan, and Lil Yachty's talking about some, oh, that's not what he meant to do. He was talking about people getting butt shots and blah, blah, blah. There's no way that you go and you write that line and you sing it in the studio and you don't think, people are gonna think this is about Megan Thee Stallion. So maybe you shouldn't have done that. Like, it's really that simple. And like people stated, he was caught hanging out with Tory Lanez at like a basketball court or something like that. And it's just really weird to me overall, the fact that so many people are being silent in this regard and not standing up for Megan. And it's just something that she really needs to support and everything. So it's just an entire thing for me of anybody who is talking down on Megan, anybody who doesn't believe her, anybody who supports Tory Lanez, like I said, unsubscribe from my channel, because everything is proving this woman right. And so it's just something that's really disheartening to see. Megan doesn't do nothing to nobody. She makes great music. She does her little performances. She was just on SNL. Oh, I just forgot to mention, she was also robbed whenever she was doing SNL. Like, that woman's been through so freaking much, and she just deserves all the respect and people standing by her side and the love. And I hope that she has a lot of people around her supporting her, because that's something that has to be really disheartening, just to see how all these people turn against you. All love to Megan, and yeah, anybody supporting that man is ridiculously weird in my book.
So I actually recorded this video before the trial had concluded, and Tory was found guilty on all 3 counts. They had so much evidence against him, and also Kelsey will be dealt with for lying, and just so much footage against him and everything like that. And so this is something that was so richly needed, and I'm glad that Megan got the justice that she deserved. The sentencing hasn't happened yet. We don't know how much time he'll get. People are saying different things. That's happening, I think, late January, so we'll see in regards to that. And then I saw this tweet: Tory might not be in jail today, but that's why I love tomorrow. Exactly. And I saw something saying that he was in jail right now, like on Twitter or something like that. So that's something important to note. And I did talk about this on my TikTok a little bit after it broke and everything, and I am more active on my TikTok, like I say. But I really wanted to throw this in the video because I thought that it was a really important update to it. Anybody who didn't believe Megan, you guys are a bunch of weirdos.
Okay, so I already said this in my Grammy nominations like prediction video, but I have it written down, so I'll say it again. I do not like Steve Lacy's music at all. I don't like his voice. I just cannot get into it. Maybe I'd be a lot more indifferent on him if my sister didn't play it all the time, and I feel like that just makes me dislike it more. If you like his music, then cool for you on the whole. It's just not something that I can personally get into. The next thing that I've written down is artist development is so necessary, and like people have been saying, it's just not really happening nowadays, and I feel like a lot of times you can see that. You have people coming out and they have no clue what music they want to make. They have no clue what their image is supposed to be. They do not know how to perform. And back in the day, things were different because a lot of times you would go into artist development and then they would like teach you all these things, how to answer questions in interviews, media training, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, it would be time before you debuted. So they might do that for like a year or two or something like that. And then they would put you out there. That way, whenever you got famous, you already knew how to handle all these things. And of course, there's more, I'm sure, that you learn as you go. But I feel like that just makes such a huge difference. And I feel like that's something important to say because I feel like a lot of artists could benefit from that for sure. And a lot of times people just need some direction, and I feel like that makes all the difference. I hear stories of these artists that were like, I didn't know what I wanted to make, but then my A&R really helped me find a producer that really kind of got in the same pocket as me and was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so I just feel like we need to bring that back. A lot of artists could benefit from that. The next thing that I've written down is the entire thing of having so much musical knowledge and just, you know, having that ingrained to you and being classically trained, knowing chord progressions and playing by ear and all that stuff. For me, it's something that is kind of overrated. It's not something that is entirely necessary. Some of the best musicians ever aren't classically trained in that regard. You have Paul McCartney. I think he said he tried to take piano lessons and he said he just couldn't really get in with it. So he taught himself how to play piano. He has classic songs, Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road, you know, on and on and on. Those were with the Beatles, the solo work. Aretha Franklin said that she learned to play piano by ear. You also have Mariah, who is not really the best at playing piano. She knows a little bit, but she kind of just sings the chord progressions as she goes. And she said some of her songs would not have happened if she would have known the traditional rules to kind of go by things. So I feel like that's not really necessary on the whole. If you have talent, it's going to show. I do think it can be cool when someone's classically trained. You know, you have Alicia Keys, amazing piano player for sure, great writer, singer, all that kind of stuff. But then there's some people who have that training and they make some of the worst music that I've ever heard. Charlie Puth stepped to the front. Like, have you guys heard some of these new singles that he's been releasing? They're horrible. And his entire thing is, oh, I can play by ear and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter if the music that you're making isn't good. You know, that's how I feel about it. Jacob Collier is someone who's classically trained, and from what I've heard of him, I don't naturally gravitate towards him. I appreciate his contributions to Good Days by SZA. I do appreciate that on the whole, but as a whole, I just cannot get into his music. So I feel like at a certain point, that's something that can be overrated. I feel like some people really benefit from that, and some people just don't. Some people just have a different way of approaching everything, whether it's teaching themselves instruments or like whatever it is. The next thing that I wanted to say is the Beatles album Rubber Soul clears Revolver. Everybody's like, oh, Revolver's better. I think a lot of people like Revolver more because, oh, it's more experimental, and I believe they had like the tape loops, and then they had like the guitar solo in reverse or the vocals in reverse or like whatever it is, and it did push boundaries for the time, and I understand something that's more psychedelic and stuff in that regard. But I feel like if we're talking about song for song for song, Rubber Soul clears for the most part. Run for Your Life, don't like that song on the whole because of the lyrical content and stuff like that. What Goes On, not the biggest fan of that song, but on the whole, it holds up better as an album. You have Michelle, you also have Drive My Car, which is fun, In My Life, If I Needed Someone. Like, there's great songs on that record. Compared to Revolver, there's some highlights on there, but as a whole, I skip way more songs in there. Love You Too, I be skipping that sometimes just because I'm not in the mood to listen to it. Yellow Submarine, not the biggest fan of that song necessarily for the most part. I cannot stand Dr. Robert. Good Day Sunshine has taken time to grow on me, and now I can appreciate it more, but it's not really a favorite for me on the album. So on the whole, yes, Revolver has some great highlights that I think are worth checking out for sure. I get why people like the album. Rubber Soul just clears. Like, I feel like on the whole, it's better. I feel like Revolver is overrated in their discography. I do not understand people saying like, oh, it's their best album. Like, Abbey Road doesn't exist. Like, Sgt. Pepper's doesn't exist. Like, the White Album doesn't exist. Like, Rubber Soul doesn't exist. It's just something that was never a favorite for me personally. I get why you would like it, but their best album, for me, that's doing a little bit too much. The next thing that I wanted to say is I'm so tired of music publications giving everybody positive reviews. And like people stated, Pitchfork is one of the only publications out there willing to say it like it is, to be scathing. Do I disagree with a lot of their opinions? Absolutely. I definitely think that there's times where they get it wrong, of course, but I really appreciate that they're not just going to sugarcoat it because, oh, this artist is popular and blah, blah, blah. And I'm so tired of everybody getting positive reviews. It's the worst music that you've ever heard, and someone is saying, oh, this is a 5-star album. Like, be for real. Like, why can't we just be honest and say like, oh, this is good and oh, this isn't good? And a lot of people say, oh, because they're fans. fans will attack them and whatever. But at a certain point, I feel like you shouldn't let that, you know, change how you're going to rate everything on the whole. And even Pitchfork, they get hate from all these fans. They got hate from Taylor Swift fans, and they gave one of her albums like a 7 or something, and that's not even bad. That's a good score objectively. They were mad because she didn't get a 9 or whatever it is. So I think that that's kind of ridiculous. I think that that needs to stop. But I definitely think publications should be more honest and stop giving everybody positive reviews, because not everybody deserves it. And I feel like if a lot more of them were honest, then artists would maybe start turning out better work, because, you know, some people just want to hear yes men and, you know, oh, it's going to be what I want to hear. But it's just more interesting and it's more valuable to say how you're actually feeling. And so that's something that really irritates me. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I found on Twitter a bit ago, and I'll read it to you guys. Carey on the road reveals she lost respect for singers who can't sing live. I lose respect for them. When I go to a concert and hear them drop keys, I was like, you can't hit the notes. Why do you record them if you can't sing them? That stuff is important to me. So this is something that I disagree with for many reasons. Life happens, people age, voice changes. This happens to every singer out there. And sometimes it's like they just cannot sing the same notes that they did whenever they first came out with it. So they change the arrangement and they make it something that's more suited to their voice. And I would rather an artist do that than try to sing the arrangement and it's just not working for them and they're really struggling. And also sometimes it's like they change the key so they can preserve their voice throughout the entire career. I feel like that is something that is very, very important on the whole. And so I don't necessarily blame artists for doing that. You know, some artists, they change the key and their live performances are still shaking out looking right at you, Olivia Rodrigo. Some of these live performances have been rough and I feel like a vocal coach is needed. I feel like improvement is needed. So that is something that I feel like needs to be worked on the whole. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you drop the key a bunch, if you still can't sing the song objectively, if you don't have good pitch, if you just cannot hear yourself correctly, like a bunch of different things tie into that on the whole. Some people just can't sing live, so it doesn't really matter how many times they change the key or something like that. But it's also an entire thing of sometimes changing the key just works better for the arrangement. Like it's kind of interesting to hear some songs in a different key because you're like, I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as the studio version, but I really do like it. So I get the entire thing of, oh, why record them if you can't hit them? But some people just write songs that are out of their range and it has to be like their best vocal day of all time for them to be able to hit the notes. I don't think that you should be doing that. Why would you write a song that you're straining every single night to sing? I feel like you have to know what range is comfortable for you vocally and all that stuff is very important on the whole. But in terms of dropping keys, I just think it's really smart because like I said, sometimes you don't have it. Sometimes it's like an entire thing of longevity. Sometimes it's an entire thing of age as well. And also sometimes it's a thing of creativity. Maybe they're changing it for a medley that they're doing or whatever it is. I feel like so many different things ties into it. And so at one point I can kind of understand what she's saying, but on the whole I disagree with it. The next thing that I have written down is I don't really care for the entire ghostwriter thing. As far as I'm aware, it's the most popular in rap music, but I'm sure it probably happens in other genres. But it kind of bothers me because on the whole, I just want songwriters to get the credit that they deserve. Like, it really bothers me whenever people take credit for songs that they didn't write and then people have to say, hey, I actually wrote that song. Like, I feel like that shouldn't happen at all. If you didn't write the song, like I said before, I don't think that you should be stealing credit. Also, I feel like you can't be the GOAT if you don't write your own lyrics, if you're having people come and ghostwrite for you. I feel like you lose a lot of credibility in that regard. On the whole, it just really matters that the ghostwriter is satisfied with it. But it's just something that's always kind of bothered me because I feel like everybody should get fair credit. The next thing that I have written down is I need people to stop bloating albums. 12 tracks is fine. I feel like 12 to 15, that's the sweet spot. If you are going to put over 20 songs in the album, I feel like you have to show me that you can make 10 to 12 good songs first. Like, I'm so tired of artists right now just putting 20, 30, 40, 50 songs on an album just because they know people are going to listen to them. It's like you really could have kept that. Like, I know this is on the cutting room floor, like it sounds like a demo, and you shouldn't put everything out just because people are going to listen to it. I feel like that's something that can really harm the quality of an album. Like, I hate listening to an album and maybe even the deluxe tracks and like, why would you put this out? Like, it just does nothing to enhance the album experience in any ways. There's some albums that I like that have over 20 songs that I can truly appreciate. Janet Jackson's Velvet Rope. I mean, yeah, that has interludes too, but it is one of the longer albums, but that's actually worth it to listen to. Like, it's really enjoyable. And Janet has shown me before I even got into the Velvet Rope that she's capable of making, you know, 9 good songs, 12 good songs, 15 good songs, like whatever it is. Just make it worth my while, because who wants to sit here for 2 hours listening to a mid-album? I certainly don't, and it's something that really bothers me. So at a certain point, we just have to know when to put everything on the cutting room floor. Not every album needs a deluxe. The next thing I've written down is I cannot stand people who go to a concert and they budge their way to the front row only to not know all of the songs. And this happened because I saw those videos of Steve Lacy at the concert and then he's turning the mic to people and they only know one part of the song. Why would you go to a concert if you don't even know an entire song by the artist? It's one thing if somebody invited you to the show, they're like, hey, can you go with me? I'm not talking about that or whatever if you're not really that much of a fan. But I'm saying if you go out of your way and you go so hard to buy it for yourself or whatever and do all this stuff to get to the front and you don't even know the discography. I would never go to somebody's concert that I wasn't interested in going to. Like, if I didn't know the discography and I didn't care about it enough, then why am I going to go and sit at the front row of the concert? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And so it's just something that is odd in that regard. Like, I don't necessarily get it. Like, maybe we should be sitting in the back, maybe we shouldn't go to concert. Like I said, it's a completely different thing if you were invited, but if you go out of your way to spend money for these tickets to sit in the front and you know none of the lyrics, like, why would you do that? I don't necessarily get it. All right, and my last opinion today, Billboard has to change the rules in regard to remixes and all that stuff, and let me explain. So if you've been watching my videos for a bit, or you follow me on like Twitter or TikTok or whatever it is, you guys know that I am a Taylor Swift fan. I think that the last album is great. One of my favorite artists of all time, right? She has a lead single, Anti-Hero. She releases a few remixes for it. I was like, you know, okay, like, it is what it is. She was blocking Drake, so I was happy to see that because I just don't like Drake, so I just didn't want to see him get #1, right? But at a certain point, it started getting egregious. I'm pretty sure she's released like 8 remixes for the song, and I feel like we're doing too much at a certain point. I'm not against a remix as a whole because I feel like they can really show artistic expression and there's something that are cool to listen to. You can tell whenever people are doing that versus, oh, I want my song to go #1 or I want it to stay there or like whatever it is. This gets really annoying. It's giving chart obsessed. It's giving desperate. Like, at a certain point, let it go, take the L. And people are gonna say Taylor's released remixes before. Yes, I know this. I've been a fan of her for a few years. I've seen it before. But 8 remixes for a song to stay at #1, like, let it go, like I was saying. And a lot of people are gonna be watching this, oh, but she's not the only one who does all these remixes and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know that. You have a Nicki Minaj, you have BTS. I'm pretty sure Sam Smith and Kim Petras released a lot of remixes as well. This applies to everyone. No matter who is doing this, I feel like at a certain point, we just have to take the L and say, maybe my song's not gonna go #1. The entire point of the Billboard Hot 100 chart is to reflect what is popular at that time. And so I think that it's just really annoying whenever people do that because you're skewing how it's actually supposed to be. And people know, oh, I have a dedicated fan base who's gonna go buy like 5 versions of my song to get it to be there. But it's like, we shouldn't have to be doing all of that. And I can appreciate a remix on the whole, but now remixes have gotten a lot lazier. They're just changing the instrumental, maybe. They're not even going in and re-singing the song. Like, a lot of times remixes 20, 30 years ago was a completely different vibe. There's just so much effort put into it. And now people just do all this stuff because, oh, I want to go #1. And, you know, there's really no artistic expression there. So something that is just really getting on my nerves. And I feel like at a certain point things have to be changed. Because why are we releasing like 8 remixes of a song for it to go #1 or to keep it there? Like, it's either organic or it's not. And so Billboard just needs to change maybe how it's counted. I don't know what they need to change, but I feel like maybe if things would change, maybe artists would, I don't know, try to make better music or just try to do something different. If you have a hit, people are going to show you that. It's going to stay at #1 organically. You're not going to have to pull all these tricks. And it's just something that I'm tired of no matter who does it. And so this is just something that has been bothering me. Alright, so that is going to be it for this installment of my unpopular music opinions. And of course, I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please let me know what some of your unpopular opinions are because I would love to read them. Also, if you guys wanted to see more of my videos on unpopular opinions, I will have a card on the screen right here that just takes you to all the other ones. I'll also be at the end of this video and link down below in the description. But that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, give it a like down below. It helps me out a lot in the algorithm. I very much appreciate it. You guys can also subscribe right down below if you want to see more videos like this. If you hit the bell, you get notifications to your phone when I post and now some new videos are out. The first link down below in the description is going to be my second channel. Definitely check me out on there if you want to see more content from me. And then I'm also going to have my Twitter. Like I said, I have been talking on some Twitter spaces about Mariah Carey. We have been talking about her albums, doing some discussions there. So it's been really fascinating to get to hear what other people think of her albums and also educate some people on some fun facts and stuff like that. I've had a really, really great time. So if you guys want to hear me talk more about Mariah, then you can go on my Twitter and I made a thread of spaces that I talked on and you can go check those out. But I've had a lot of fun having these discussions for sure. And then on my community tab, I keep posting whenever we have news. So definitely check that out. I'm also going to have my Instagram, my Spotify, my TikTok. Like I said, I've been a lot more active on my TikTok, so definitely go check me out on there. And lastly, I'm going to have links to educate you guys on important situations. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.